At 85, Smokey Robinson still has the voice, the moves, and the charm that made him a superstar. While other legends from his era have faded away, Smokey just keeps getting better. His new tour is selling out fast. His voice sounds exactly like it did in the 60s, and women are still swooning over him. But behind that ageless face lies a wild story most fans never knew, from crack addiction to secret affairs with Diana Ross. The Motown miracle isn't just turning heads, he's blowing minds. Smokey Robinson was born on February 19, 1940, in Detroit's North End. His parents split when he was 3, and his mother died when he was 10. After that, he moved in with his sister Geraldine and her husband, joining a crowded house with 10 kids. Life was hard, but Smokey was smart and athletic. He did well at Northern High School, though his real love was music. His background was a mix of African American, French, Nigerian, Portuguese, Scandinavian, and Cherokee ancestry. This blend of cultures may have shaped the unique sound that later made him famous. Just down the street, another future legend was growing up. Aretha Franklin lived only a few houses away, and they knew each other as children. He used to hear her playing piano when he visited her brother Cecil. Around the corner lived Diana Ross. They were all kids in the same neighborhood, soaking up gospel, early R&B, and rock and roll. It was a music-rich world that shaped them all. The nickname Smokey came from his uncle Claude, who took him to cowboy movies and called him Smokey Joe. By age 3, he insisted on using it as his name. When he got older, he dropped Joe and stuck with Smokey. That name would soon be known worldwide. His first song came in elementary school, written for a school play. From that moment, he was hooked. He kept writing, night after night, after finishing homework. By 6, he was already serious about it. He looked up to local singers like Nolan Strong and Barrett Strong, especially drawn to high tenor voices. In 1955, when he was 15, he and his friend Ronnie White started a vocal group called the Five Chimes. They added Pete Moore, Clarence Dawson, and James Grice. By 1957, the name changed to the Matadors. New members came in: Emerson Sonny Rogers, and then his sister Claudette, who later became Smokey's wife. Bobby Rogers joined too. Since they now had a female member, the group changed their name again. In 1958, they became the Miracles. That same year, guitarist Marv Tarplin joined them. And in a strange twist of fate, Smokey and Bobby Rogers had been born in the same hospital on the same day, February 19, 1940, but didn't meet until they were teenagers. In the summer of 1957, 17-year-old Smokey Robinson met 29-year-old Berry Gordy for the first time. Smokey had just failed an audition with his group, then called the Matadors. After the rejection, Gordy walked up and asked to see what songs he had written. Smokey pulled out a notebook filled with over 100 original lyrics. Gordy was shocked. He saw raw talent that just needed direction. That moment sparked a bond between them. Gordy began mentoring Smokey, showing him how a good song tells a full story, from beginning to end. This simple lesson would shape Smokey's entire career and help define the Motown sound that was still years from being born. By late 1957, Gordy took Smokey and his group, now renamed the Miracles, into United Sound Studios in Detroit. There, they recorded Got a Job, a playful response to the hit Get a Job by the Silhouettes. Smokey had never been in a studio before. He didn't even know what a producer did. But he watched Gordy closely. He later said Gordy was a perfectionist who trimmed every detail until the sound was just right. That first session became a turning point. Smokey wasn't just a singer anymore. He was learning how to be a producer and a storyteller. The song came out on February 19, 1958, Smokey's 18th birthday. It became a top 10 hit in Detroit and got plenty of radio play. But when the royalty check came, it was for just $3.19. That moment made something painfully clear. Success didn't mean fairness. Even with a hit record, they were barely getting paid. This was the reality for many black artists in the 1950s. Most never saw what their work was really worth. Smokey would later say that back then, if you were black, you were lucky to get paid at all. That check changed everything. Smokey encouraged Gordy to stop handing over their music to other labels and start one of his own. Gordy took the advice seriously. In early 1959, he borrowed $800 from his family's savings club and launched Tamla Records out of a small Detroit house at 2648 West Grand Boulevard. That house would later be known as Hitsville, USA. It was a bold move in a white-dominated industry where black musicians were often sidelined or covered by white performers. But Gordy wasn't trying to break in. He was building something new, and Smokey had helped push him to do it. That same year, on November 7, 1959, Smokey married Claudette Rogers. She had joined the Miracles after her brother was drafted. She was the only woman in the group, and her voice added a unique sound to their music. Gordy called her the First Lady of Motown, making her the first woman signed to any Motown label. Smokey and Claudette's relationship was both personal and professional. They toured, recorded, and performed together. Their love even shaped Smokey's songwriting. One of his most famous songs, My Girl, was written with Claudette in mind, though it became a hit for the Temptations. In 1960, everything changed for Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. They released Shop Around, a song that would not only transform their careers, but also shift the entire course of Motown Records. It wasn't just another studio session. Berry Gordy heard the first version and wasn't happy. At 3 a.m., he called Smokey and told him it lacked energy. Tired but determined, the group returned to the studio in the middle of the night. Gordy played piano himself on the re-recording, pushing the tempo and adding urgency. That version became Motown's first #1 R&B single and held the top spot for 8 weeks. It also climbed to #2 on the Billboard Hot 100 and hit #1 on the Cashbox Pop chart. By February 1961, it had sold over 1 million copies. During a special show at the Michigan State Fairgrounds called Cars and Stars of '61, Berry Gordy handed the group their first gold record on stage. Ironically, Motown had first believed the B-side, Who's Lovin' You, was the stronger song, but radio stations chose Shop Around and helped launch both the Miracles and Motown into music history. This was more than a hit. It was the beginning of something much bigger. Over the next 5 years, Smokey and the Miracles delivered song after song that captured heartbreak and longing with rare honesty. In 1962, Robinson was in a New York hotel when he heard Sam Cooke's Bring It On Home to Me. The melody stuck with him. Inspired, he wrote, You've Really Got a Hold on Me, which became their second million seller. It reached #1 on the R&B chart and broke into the pop top 10. In 1965, they followed with Ooh Baby Baby, a slow, aching ballad about regret and infidelity. Pete Moore's background vocals added depth, and orchestral strings layered over the Funk Brothers track gave it a haunting beauty. The single hit #4, R&B, and #16, pop. Later that year, Robinson began writing The Tracks of My Tears. The title came quickly, but the central metaphor, tears leaving marks down a smiling face, took weeks to perfect. The final lyrics showed a painful contrast between appearance and truth, a theme Smokey would return to in Tears of a Clown. Each of these tracks felt personal, yet universal. They didn't just top charts. They created a new kind of soul music that blended raw emotion with poetic structure. That balance made them timeless. While Motown was climbing in America, the Miracles were quietly influencing music across the Atlantic. One of their biggest admirers was the Beatles. In July 1963, John Lennon brought You've Really Got a Hold on Me into the studio as the first song for their second album with the Beatles. The group didn't rush it. They recorded 7 takes and added extra edit pieces. Lennon and George Harrison shared lead vocals. Paul McCartney added harmony. George Martin played piano. They performed the song live 4 times that year for BBC Radio, including one version that later appeared on their Live at the BBC album. The Beatles even played it during their 1963 tour stop in Stockholm. That version made it onto Anthology 1. Smokey Robinson was more than just a singer. He was the creative engine behind some of Motown's biggest hits during the 1960s. In 1964, he wrote and produced My Guy for Mary Wells. The song was released in the spring and quickly rose to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, right in the middle of the British invasion. It knocked Hello Dolly by Louis Armstrong off the top spot on May 16th and stayed there until Love Me Do by the Beatles took over 2 weeks later. My Guy had a playful sound and a polished structure that crossed musical boundaries, and it became Motown's first global hit. The timing was bittersweet. The success of the song lined up with Mary Wells's 21st birthday, which activated a contract clause that allowed her to leave Motown. Her departure ended up hurting her career more than helping it, but the song itself left a mark. Motown's first sales chief, Lucy Gordy Wakefield, once said that in 1964, Mary Wells was their top artist, and My Guy was known by every adult between 30 and 50. That single gave Motown its first real taste of international success, and it was Smokey Robinson who made it happen. Later that year, Robinson wrote The Way You Do the Things You Do for the Temptations, but it was My Girl that truly changed everything for them. Smokey had seen David Ruffin perform Under the Boardwalk during a Motown review tour and believed Ruffin's voice had something special. He wrote My Girl with Ruffin in mind and crafted it to suit his rough but melodic tone. The group recorded it in late 1964, and it was released on December 21st. In early 1965, it became their first #1 single in the United States. The opening bass line by James Jamerson was instantly recognizable. Smokey once said he could sing the song anywhere in the world, and people would cheer as soon as they heard the first few notes, even if they didn't speak English. The song has lived on through generations. In 2017, it was added to the Library of Congress's National Recording Registry. In 2024, The Temptations performed it at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. On Spotify, it has been streamed over 1 billion times. Smokey knew how to write for voices. He understood what made someone stand out. And in Ruffin, he found a voice worth building a hit around. Smokey didn't stop with The Temptations. In 1965, he helped Marvin Gaye find his breakthrough sound by producing 2 major hits, I'll Be Doggone and Ain't That Peculiar. Both songs sold over 1 million copies and became some of Gaye's biggest records before his style changed later in the decade. I'll Be Doggone was originally written for The Temptations, but they passed on it. Gaye recorded it instead, and it became his first #1 hit on the R&B chart, staying there for 2 weeks and reaching #8 on the Hot 100. Later that year, Ain't That Peculiar matched that success, also topping the R&B chart and hitting #8 on the pop chart. These songs featured contributions from Smokey's own group, The Miracles. Marv Tarplin played lead guitar, and background vocals came from both The Miracles and the Andantes, Motown's female studio backing group. These tracks defined Gaye's early sound and stayed as his most popular solo hits until 1968's I Heard It Through the Grapevine. Smokey's writing gave Gaye space to grow, and these early records helped establish him as one of Motown's most important voices. By 1966, Smokey turned his focus to the Marvelettes, a group that had fallen behind in the Motown lineup. He wrote Don't Mess with Bill, which brought them back into the spotlight. The single reached #7 on the Hot 100 and #3 on the R&B chart, becoming their biggest hit in 4 years. Despite the title, Smokey said the Bill in the song wasn't about him, even though his real name was William. He just liked the way it fit the rhythm. In 1967, he followed it up with The Hunter Gets Captured by the Game. Motown executives didn't want to release it at first. They thought it sounded too jazzy for a pop group, but Smokey pushed for it. The song reached #13 on the Hot 100 and #2 on the R&B chart in March 1967. Robinson was especially drawn to the lead singer, Wanda Young. He liked the tone of her voice, calling it a little country kind of sexy voice. His work with the Marvelettes proved he could write from a woman's perspective and still maintain the emotional depth and musical complexity that defined his songs. As the decade moved forward, Smokey's influence stretched beyond Motown. In 1968, Rolling Stone called him the reigning genius of top 40. His writing was both simple and deep, with lines that seemed effortless but carried weight. Bob Dylan once called him America's greatest living poet, a title that surprised some, but made perfect sense to those who had studied his lyrics. Smokey had already written thousands of songs by then, and his style was unmatched. He combined wit, structure, and feeling in a way no one else could. One of his most quoted lines came from, "The way you do the things you do. You've got a smile so bright. You know you could have been a candle. I'm holding you so tight. You know you could have been a handle." In 1973, Smokey Robinson made a major change. After decades in Detroit, he left his hometown and moved to California to start over. He had stepped away from live performing for 3 years, but now felt ready to return. On June 19th of that year, he released his first solo album, Smokey. It stayed on the Billboard charts for 19 weeks and peaked at number 70. That debut also carried some personal history. Robinson had convinced Marv Tarplin, guitarist for The Miracles, to join him out west. Tarplin had been unhappy with the group, and their new collaboration added depth to the album. The record gave Robinson his first solo hit, Baby Come Close, along with Sweet Harmony, a tribute to his old group. But the album wasn't just about love and memory. One track, Just My Soul Responding, marked a shift in Robinson's voice. It was a protest song that spoke about life in the ghetto and the struggles of Native Americans. For the first time, his music reached beyond romance. It was clear that this solo chapter would not be a copy of what came before. Robinson was now stepping forward with something new to say and a different way of saying it. 2 years later, in 1975, he released A Quiet Storm. It was his third solo album, and it changed everything. The music was smooth, romantic, and deeply intimate. 3 of its songs became hits. Baby That's Bacacha reached number 7 on Billboard's disco chart and landed in the R&B top 10. But the album's biggest legacy wasn't chart success. It shaped an entire genre. That same year, Kathy Hughes, a radio executive at Howard University station WHUR, created a new late-night format and named it after Robinson's album. The Quiet Storm style quickly spread to other stations, blending soul and jazz with a mellow tone that became a nightly ritual for listeners across the country. Robinson's voice became the sound of late-night radio for decades. In 1999, Q magazine called A Quiet Storm one of the best Motown albums ever made. The record marked a shift in R&B, linking the soulful feel of the 60s with the refined sound of modern love songs. Artists like Anita Baker, Luther Vandross, and Sadie would later build on what Robinson started here. With this album, he wasn't just making music, he was reshaping what R&B could be. As a solo artist, Robinson moved into more personal territory. His lyrics were still poetic, but now they came with deeper meaning. Bob Dylan once called him America's greatest living poet, and Robinson's solo work gave that praise new weight. In A Quiet Storm, you could hear him blending soul, jazz, and R&B in a way that felt intimate and grown up. These songs weren't just about falling in love. They were about the quiet details of how people live together, argue, reconnect, and grow apart. On Pure Smokey, released in 1974, he kept this style going with songs that felt more like confessions than performances. His earlier work with The Miracles was already strong, but now there was more space in the music. His vocals became softer and more expressive. His stories got more honest. He still wrote about love, but with a sharper eye and a calmer voice. There was wisdom in his words. Instead of trying to recreate his old sound, he gave listeners something new. Music that was thoughtful, subtle, and rich with emotion. His influence reached beyond Motown. He created a new lane for soul music that artists still follow today. Robinson's solo career took time to take off. His early hits like Baby Come Close and Sweet Harmony were strong, but didn't break through in a big way. That changed in 1979. He had been struggling to write something that could push his career forward again when he found inspiration on the Sunset Strip. While driving, he heard Groovin' by the Young Rascals on the radio. The laid-back sound sparked an idea. He remembered an old Marv Tarplin demo from the early 70s that hadn't found lyrics yet. That track became Cruisin'. It was released at the end of 1979 and reached number 4 on the pop charts in early 1980. It was his first solo top 10 pop hit and helped his album Where There's Smoke outsell even A Quiet Storm. This was the moment his solo career truly found its voice. In 1987, he reached another peak with Just to See Her, which earned him his first Grammy. That same year, One Heartbeat also became a hit across pop, soul, and adult contemporary charts. For an artist who had already done so much, this period showed he still had more to give and more to prove. In 2023, at the age of 83, Smokey Robinson revealed something that shocked the music world. For the first time, he confirmed a secret affair with Diana Ross that lasted about a year during the 1960s. At the time, Robinson was married to Claudette Rogers, his first wife. Their marriage lasted from 1959 to 1986. The confession came during an interview with The Guardian when Robinson was casually asked if he had a thing with Ross. He simply answered, "Yes, we did." The two had known each other since childhood. Ross was just 8 when they met, and their long friendship had always seemed purely professional until this moment changed everything. The affair happened while both were climbing to fame under the Motown label. Robinson was leading the Miracles, and Ross was rising with the Supremes. According to Robinson, their relationship wasn't planned. They were working closely, and it just happened. He said it was beautiful, not something he chased, and not something she chased either. He still spoke about Ross with deep affection, calling her "my babe" and "precious to me" in a 2025 interview with The Times. But it was Ross who ended the affair. She told him she couldn't keep seeing him because she knew Claudette and understood how much he still loved his wife. That decision, according to Robinson, showed the kind of person Ross was. Her choice to step away wasn't about public image. It was about loyalty to someone she cared about. In the same 2023 interview, Robinson was also asked about a wild rumor that he and Ross were actually the biological parents of Michael Jackson. His reaction was filled with laughter and disbelief. "They say Diana Ross and I had Michael? Oh my God, that's funny," he said. While the theory is pure fantasy, it shows how public imagination often twists real relationships into myths. Ross had a close relationship with Jackson, even becoming an alternate guardian in his will. Robinson and Jackson were also Motown label mates. The age gap, Robinson born in 1940, Jackson in 1958, made the idea technically possible, but completely baseless. Still, the rumor added one more bizarre layer to an already complex and personal story that remained hidden for decades. In 1984, Smokey Robinson fathered a son named Trey with a woman named Candy. At the time, he was still married to Claudette, and the news of the pregnancy marked the start of a personal collapse. He kept the child a secret from his wife, who was then planning their 25th anniversary celebration. She wanted to renew their vows, not knowing what was happening behind her back. The same year, Robinson began using crack cocaine. He admitted to smoking it in secret around the house, saying he got higher and higher as time went on. Trey was his third child, born after his son Barry in 1968 and daughter Tamla in 1971, both with Claudette. When Trey was born, Robinson described him as healthy and strong. But the moment was clouded by guilt and fear of what was coming next. The secret didn't stay hidden for long. By 1986, Robinson finally told Claudette about Trey. Her reaction was explosive. She cried, screamed, and shook with anger. She told him it was over. Yet even then, Claudette refused to file for divorce. She told him, "You're going to have to initiate the procedure." 2 days later, in a state of emotional exhaustion, Robinson met with a lawyer and filed on the grounds of irreconcilable differences. He said, "My wife's a wonderful woman. I love her. I'm just not in love with her anymore." The divorce took 3 more years to finalize. By 1989, they reached a settlement, and one of Motown's most iconic couples was officially done. During this time, Robinson was still struggling with addiction infidelity, and regret. He later admitted his wayward ways helped destroy the marriage. But even as his personal life unraveled, his professional life was still being celebrated, though not without controversy. In 1987, Smokey Robinson was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a solo artist. It should have been a proud moment, but instead, it sparked one of the biggest controversies in music history. The rest of the Miracles, Pete Moore, Bobby Rogers, Ronnie White, and Marv Tarplin, were left out. Fans were stunned. Music journalists were furious. Goldmine editor Phil Marder asked, "How did Smokey Robinson get inducted without the rest of the Miracles?" Pete Moore called it a slap in the face, reminding people that the Miracles were there before Motown even had a name. "We set the pace," Moore said. Fans pointed out that other Motown groups like the Supremes and the Four Tops were inducted as full units, not just solo singers. Even Robinson said he was disappointed by the decision. He spent years trying to fix it. He made calls, signed petitions, and spoke up whenever he could. But it took 25 years to correct the mistake. In 2012, the Miracles were finally inducted into the Hall of Fame. At 85 years old, Smokey Robinson is still doing what most artists half his age struggle to do. He's not just performing, he's thriving. On February 19th, 2025, he celebrated his 85th birthday, marking more than 60 years in music. Instead of looking back, Smokey is moving forward with fresh energy. He's set to release a new gospel album called What the World Needs Now on April 25th through Gaye Music Group. It's a blend of old favorites and original songs, filled with hope and soul. He's already dropped 2 singles from it. Be Thankful for What You've Got, a remake of the 1974 William DeVaughn hit, and Lean on Me, a heartfelt take on Bill Withers' classic. The album also includes What a Wonderful World and 3 Little Birds, along with 2 new Smokey originals, Be Kind to the Growing Mind and Food for Thought. He's also back on the road. The Smokey Legacy Tour kicks off March 21st in Temecula and ends August 2nd in Los Angeles. It spans 19 shows across the US, Canada, and the UK. He'll perform in top venues like the Greek Theatre, the Venetian, and London's Eventim Apollo. Reviews say his voice is still pristine, almost untouched by time. Fans call his performances passionate and energetic. He moves like someone half his age and sings with heart. Offstage, he's still shaping the culture. For Black History Month in February, he hosted a special on Sirius XM's Soul Town, talking music and legacy with Otis Williams, Babyface, and Gordy. With over 4,000 songs to his name, Smokey Robinson isn't slowing down. He's just adding more to his story.